Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Rachel Otwell, and I am an arts and culture reporter for the local public radio station here in Springfield. It's called WUIS. Love poetry. I have come to these before, and they're a blast. So looking forward to the day, and just so you know, I'm probably more nervous than you are. So welcome to Springfield, and welcome to the Hoagland Center for the Arts. Especially, we welcome you to the 2015 Poetry Out Loud National Recitation Contest. Created by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation, Poetry Out Loud is administered in partnership with the state arts agencies of all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Let's take care of some things as we begin. Please, oh please, silence anything electronic in your purse or pocket, and please keep those phones in your pocket or purse. Don't use the voice, text, or photograph features. They distract the audience, the competitors, and you. To get to the restrooms, go past the elevators and turn left at the end of the hallway, unless I notice you're a female, in which case you want to go to the second floor. I now would like to introduce our regional contest staff. At the scorekeepers table, Bob Jessup. Up front is our prompter, Galen Broadus, and accuracy judge, Taya Chelsea, as well as the three recitation judges, Mark McKnight, musician and poet, Osni Vigasa, actress and narrator, James Warner, journal editor and poet. Also helping today are photographer William Richards, assistants Randy Eccles, Emily Page, Alyssa Williams, and Janine, I'm so sorry guys, it's a little scribbly. Miss Williams, we'll call her that. Technician Brad Wheeler, and musician Virgil Rhodes. In addition, I want to recognize the executive director of the Springfield Area Arts Council, John Austin, and its program assistant, Sheila Walk. Poetry Out Loud competitors are judged on the following criteria: physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, level of complexity, and evidence of understanding. Each of these categories is scored individually using a 6-point scale. The judges also evaluate each entrant's overall performance, assigning 1 to 9 points. In addition, the accuracy of the recitation is evaluated. Its maximum score of 8 points is added to the judges' scores. Simply forgetting a word subtracts a point from a contestant's score. While we as audience members can form our own assessment of the quality of the recitation, we cannot gauge whether a student has presented the poem precisely as it was written by the poet word for word. That's the job of the accuracy judge, who is following the text of the poem carefully. 2 poems will be recited by each participant, 1 poem per round. The order of recitation was determined through a random drawing for each round. Each student will be introduced by me, the MC. The student then will announce the poem and its poet. After reciting, the student will return to his or her seat. The judges will score the recitation, and the score sheets will be given to the scoring staff. Then we will move to the next contestant. We ask you to remain quiet between recitations so the judges can concentrate on their scoring decisions. Virgil Rhodes will play during those pauses. Thank you for your cooperation. As we begin, allow me to formally introduce all of the participants, each of them a winner at his or her school. Students, as I call your name, please come forward to receive a certificate recognizing your participation. Remain on stage for a group photograph. Now, here they are in alphabetical order. William Acton, Lutheran High School, Springfield. Catherine Ann Beeler, Lutheran High School, Springfield. Colin Bale, Virginia High School, Virginia. Maria Brower, Porta High School, Petersburg. Mariah Brooks, Southeast High School, Springfield. Mia Berwitz, Pawnee High School, Pawnee. Dakota Clevenger, Morrisonville High School, Morrisonville. Brooke Dunn, Lanphier High School, Springfield. Annabelle Muse, Southeast High School, Springfield. Sona Folcom, Rochester High School, Rochester. Madeline Fry, Pawnee High School, Pawnee. Piper Garman, Rochester High School, Rochester. Hamid Kadiani, Springfield High School, Springfield. Ryan Kearney, Morrisonville High School, Morrisonville. Kelly Keel, Sacred Heart Griffin High School, Springfield. Kendra Kolb, Porta High School, Petersburg. Tori Londrigan, Sacred Heart Griffin High School, Springfield. Robert Malkamaki, St. Teresa High School, Decatur. Victoria Morford, Eisenhower High School, Decatur. Alexina Relat, Landfair High School, Springfield. Emma Reedy, St. Teresa High School, Decatur. Trevor Stout, Eisenhower High School, Decatur. Gina Sezko, Springfield High School, Springfield. Megan Walker, Eureka High School, Eureka. Nick Wells, Eureka High School, Eureka. And Mackenzie White, Virginia High School, Virginia. We also have here today Emma Lastly. She was named as the alternate at Lanphier High School's contest. Emma recited a few minutes ago in a practice round for the judges. She also will recite first this afternoon so that none of the contestants has to be the first one on stage. So family and friends, now is a good time for you to snap pictures of this good-looking group. As we begin, allow me to formally introduce all of the participants, which I did. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So first we will have Emma Lastly. Thank you.
Sonnet 18, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, when every fair from fair sometime decline, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
We'll have Dakota R. Clevenger.
Experience by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The lords of life, I saw them pass in their own guise, like and unlike, portly and grim, use and surprise, surface and dream, secession swift and spectral wrong, temperament without a tongue, and the inventor of the game, omnipresent without name. Some to see, some to be guessed. They marched from east to west. And little man, the least of all, among the legs of his guardians tall, walked about with puzzled look. Him by the hand dear nature took. Then dearest nature, strong and kind, whispered, darling, never mind. Tomorrow they shall wear a different face. The founder thou, these are thy race.
Next up will be Megan Waller.
Domestic Situation by Ernest Hilbert. Maybe you've heard about this, maybe not. A man came home and chucked his girlfriend's cat in the wood chipper. This really happened. Dinner wasn't ready on time. A lot of other little things went wrong. He spat on her father, who came out when he learned about it. He also broke her pinky, stole her checks, and got her sister pregnant. But she stood by him, stood strong through it all because she loved him. She loved him, you see. She actually said that. And then she went and married him. She felt some unique call. Don't try to understand what another person means by love. Don't even bother.
Next up is Mia Berwitz.
Ozymandias Percy Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold commands tell that it's sculpture, while those passions red, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: my name is Ozymandias, king of kings. Look at my works, ye mighty in despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretched far away.
I'd like to welcome up Mackenzie White.
Another Feeling by Ruth Stone. Once you saw a drove of young pigs crossing the highway, one of them pulling its body by the front feet, the hind legs dragging flat. Without thinking, you called the Humane Society. They came with a net and went for him. They were matter-of-fact, uniformed. There were 2 of them. Their truck ominous with the cage. He was hiding in the weeds. It was then you saw his eyes. He understood. He was trembling. After they took him, you began to suffer regret. Years later, you remember his misfit body scrambling to reach the others. Even at this moment, your heart is going too fast. Your hands sweat.
Next up is Alexina Relat.
Love Song by Dorothy Parker. My own dear love, he is strong and bold, and he cares not what comes after. His words ring sweet like a chime of gold, and his eyes are lit with laughter. As jubilant as a flag unfurled, oh, a girl, she'd not forget him. My own dear love, he is all my world. And I wish I never met him. My love, he's mad, and my love, he's fleet, and a wild young wood thing bore him. The ways are fair to his roaming feet, and the skies are sunlit for him. As sharply sweet to my heart he seems as the fragrance of acacia. my own dear love, he is all my dreams. And I wish he were an Asia. My love runs by like a day in June, and he makes no friends of sorrows. He'll tread his galloping rigadoon in the pathway of the morrows. He'll live his days where the sunbeams start, nor could storm or wind uproot him. My own dear love, he is all my heart, and I wish somebody'd shoot him.
Next up is Sonia Fokum.
The Mothering Blackness, Maya Angelou. She came home running, back to the mothering blackness, deep in the smothering blackness, white tears icicle gold plains of her face. She came home running. She came down creeping, here to the black arms waiting, now to the warm heart, waiting. Rime of alien dreams befrost her rich brown face. She came down creeping. She came home blameless, black as yet Hagar's daughter, tall as was Sheba's daughter. Threats of northern winds die on the desert's face. She came home blameless.
Next is Robert Malkamaki.
Be Music Night, Kenneth Patchen. Be music night, that her sleep may go where angels have their pale, tall choirs. Be a hand, see, that her dreams may watch thy guidesmen touching the green flesh of the world. Be a voice, sky, that her beauties may be counted, and the stars will tilt their quiet faces into the mirror of her loveliness. Be a road, earth, that her walking may take thee where the towns of heaven lift their breathing spires. Oh, be a world enthroned, God, that her living may find its weather, and the souls of ancient bells in a child's book shall lead her into thy wondrous house.
All right, and next will be Kendra Kolb.
Let It Be Forgotten by Sarah Teasdale. Let it be forgotten, as a flower is forgotten, forgotten like a fire that once was singing gold. Let it be forgotten, forever and ever. Time is a kind friend, he will make us old. If anyone asks, say it was forgotten, long and long ago. As a flower, as a fire, as a hushed footfall in a long forgotten snow.
I'd like to welcome up Annabelle Muse.
Celebration for June 24th by Thomas McGrath. For Marion, Before you, I was living on an island, and all around the seas of that lonely coast cast up their imitation jewels, cast their fables and enigmas, questioning, sly. I never solved them, or ever even heard, being perfect in innocence, unconscious of self. Such ignorance of history was all my wealth, a geographer sleeping in the shadow of virgins. But though my maps were made of private countries, I was a foreigner in all of them after you had come. For when you spoke, it was with a human tongue and never understood by my landlocked gentry. Then did the sun shake down a million bells, and birds bloom on bough in wildest song. Phlegmatic hills went shivering with flame. The chestnut trees were manic at their deepest bowls. It is little strange that nature was riven in her frame at this second creation, known to every lover, how we are shaped and shape ourselves in the desires of the other within the tolerance of human change. Out of the spring's innocence, this revolution, created on a kiss, announced the second season, the summer of private history of growth, through whose sweet sessions the trees lift toward the sun, each leaf a revelation. Our bodies, coupled in the Moonlight's album, proclaimed our love against the outlaw times, whose signature was written in the burning towns. Your face against the night was my medallion. Your coming forth aroused unlikely trumpets in the once tame heart. They heralded your worth, who are my lodestar, my bright and ultimate north, marrying all points of my personal compass. This is the love that now invents my fear, which nuzzles me like a puppy each violent day. It is poor comfort that the mind comes saying, what is one slim girl to the people's wars? Still, my dice are loaded. Having had such luck, having your love, my life would still be whole. Though I should die tomorrow, I have lived it all. And love is never love that cannot give love up.
Next will be Piper Garman.
All This and More by Mary Carr. The Devil's Tour of Hell did not include a factory line where molten lead spilled into mouths held wide. No electric drill spiraling screws into hands and feet, nor giant pliers to lower you into simmering vats. Instead, a circle of light opened on your stuffed armchair, whose chintz orchids did not boil in change, and the devil adjusted your new spiked antenna, almost delicately, with claws curled and lacquered black, before he spread his leather wings to leap into the acid green sky. And so, your head became a TV hole, a gargoyle mirror, your doppelganger, sloppy at the mouth and swollen at the joints, enacted your days in sinuous, slow motion. Your lines delivered with a mocking sneer. Sometimes the frame froze, reversed, began again. The red eyes of a friend you cursed, your girl child cowered behind the drapes, parents alive again and puzzled by this new form. That's why you clawed your way back to this life.
I'd like to welcome up Tori Londrigan.
Happiness by Jane Kenyon. There's just no accounting for happiness, or the way it turns up like a prodigal who comes back to the dust at your feet, having squandered a fortune far away. And how can you not forgive? You make a feast in honor of what was lost, and take from its place the finest garment, which you saved for an occasion you could not imagine. And you weep night and day to know that you were not abandoned, that happiness saved its most extreme form for you alone. No. Happiness is the uncle you never knew about, who flies a single-engine plane onto the grassy landing strip, hitchhikes into town, and inquires at every door until he finds you asleep mid-afternoon, as you so often are during the unmerciful hours of your despair. It comes to the monk in his cell. It comes to the woman sweeping the street with a birch broom, to the child whose mother has passed out from drink. It comes to the lover, to the dog chewing a sock, to the pusher, to the basket maker, and to the clerk stacking cans of carrots in the night. It even comes to the boulder in the perpetual shade of pine barrens, to the rain falling on the open sea, to the wineglass weary of holding wine.
Next up, Madeline Fry.
Hope is the thing with feathers. Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could have bashed the little bird that's kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
And now we'll have Colin Bale.
The Princess Now Sleeps the Crimson Petal by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now sleeps the crimson petal, now the white, nor waves the cypress in the palace walk, nor winks the gold fin in the porphyry font. The firefly wakens, waken thou with me. Now droops the milk-white peacock like a ghost, and like a ghost she glimmers on to me. Now lies the earth all denay to the stars, and all thy heart lies open unto me. Now slides the silent meteor on, and leaves a shining furrow as thy thoughts in me. Now folds the lily all her sweetness up, and slips into the bosom of the lake. So fold thyself, my dearest, thou, and slip into my bosom and be lost in me.
Next up is Victoria Morford.
Carmel Highlands by Janet Loxley Lewis. Below the gardens and the darkening pine, pines, the living water sinks among the stones. Sinking yet flowing till the foam... Sinking yet foaming till the snowy tones merge with the fog drawn landward in dim lines. The cloud dissolves among the flowery vines. And then the definite mountainside disowns the fluid world, the immeasurable zones. Then white oblivion swallows all designs. But still, the rich confusion of the sea, unceasing voice, somber and solacing, rises through veils of silence past the trees in restless repetition bound, yet free. Wave after wave in deluge fresh releasing an ancient speech, hushed in tremendous ease.
And now we'll have William Acton.
The Heavenly City by Stevie Smith. I sigh for the heavenly country where the heavenly people pass, and the sea is as quiet as a mirror of beautiful, beautiful glass. I walk in the heavenly field with lilies and poppies bright. I'm dressed in a heavenly coat of polished white. When I walk in the heavenly parkland, my feet on the pasture are bare. Tall waves the grass, but no harmful creature is there. At night, I fly over the housetops and stand on the bright moony beams. Gold are all heaven's rivers, and silver her streams.
Mariah Brooks, please come up.
The Children of the Poor by Gwendolyn Brooks. 1. People who have no children can be hard, attain a mull of ice and insolence, need not pause in the fire, and in no sense hesitate in the hurricane to guard. And when wide world is bitten and bewarred, they perish purely, waving their spirits hence without a trace of grace or offense, to laugh or fail, diffident, wonder-starred. While through a throttling dark we others hear the little lifting helplessness, the queer whimper whine, whose unridiculous lost softness softly makes a trap for us, and makes a curse, and makes a sugar of the malocclusions, the inconditions of love. 2. What shall I give my children, who are poor, who are adjudged the least wise of the land, who are my sweetest lepers, who demand no velvet and no velvety velour, but who have begged me for a brisk contour, crying that they are quasi-contraband because unfinished, graven by a hand less than angelic, admirable, or sure. My hand is stuffed with mold, design, device, but I lack access to my proper stone. And plentitude of plans shall not suffice, nor grief nor love shall be enough alone to ratify my little halves who bear across an autumn freezing everywhere. 3. And shall I prime my children, pray, to pray? Might come invade most frugal vestibules, spectered with crust of penitence renewal, and all hysterics arrogant for a day. Instruct yourself, here is no devil to pay. Children, confine your lights in jellied rule. Resemble graves, be metaphysical mules. Learn, Lord will not distort nor leave the fray. Behind the scurrying of your neat motif, I shall wait, if you wish. Revise the psalm if that should frighten you. Sew up belief if that should tear. Turn, singularly calm at forehead and at fingers rather wise, holding the bandage ready for your eyes.
Next up is Maria Brower.
Tall Ambrosia by Henry David Thoreau. Among the signs of autumn, I perceive the Roman wormwood, called by learned men Ambrosia elatior, food for gods. For to impartial science, the humblest weed is as immortal once as the proudest flower. Sprinkles its golden dust over my shoes as I cross the now neglected garden. We trample underfoot the food of gods and spill their nectar in each drop of dew. My honest shoes, fast friends that never strayed far from my couch, thus powdered, countrified, bearing many a mile the marks of their adventure, at the post house disgrace the gallant gloss of those well-dressed ones who no morning dew, no Roman would ever have been through, and who never walk, but are transported rather. For what old crime of theirs I do not gather.
Brooke Dunn is up next.
The Peace of Wild Things, Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
Kelly Keel is up next.
Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds sough through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own.
but a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
Catherine Ann Beeler, you're up next.
Enough by Suzanne Boffam. I am wearing dark glasses inside the house to match my dark mood. I have left all the sugar out of the pie. My rage is a kind of domestic rage. I learned it from my mother, who learned it from her mother before her, and so on. Surely the Greeks had a word for this. Now, surely the Germans do. The more words a person knows to describe her private sufferings, the more distantly she can perceive them. I repeat the names of all the cities I've known and watch an ant drag its crooked shadow home. What does it mean to love the life we've been given? To act well the part that's been cast for us? Wind, light, fire, time. A train whistles through the far hills. One day, I plan to be riding it.
Emma Reedy is next.
The Woman at the Washington Zoo by Randall Jarrell. The saris go by me from the embassies. Cloth from the moon. Cloth from another planet. They look back at the leopard like the leopard. And I, this print of mine that has kept its color alive through so many cleanings, this dull, null navy I wear to work, and wear from work, and so to my bed, so to my grave with no complaints, no comment, neither from my chief, the deputy chief assistant, nor his chief. Only I complain. This serviceful body that no sunlight dyes, no hand suffuses, but dome-shadowed, withering among columns, wavy beneath fountains, small, far off, shining in the eyes of animals, these beings trapped, as I am trapped, but not themselves the trap. Aging, but without knowledge of their age, kept safe here, knowing not of death, for death. O bars of my own body, open, open. The world goes by my cage and never sees me. And there, come not to me as come to these, the wild beasts. Sparrows pecking the llama's grain, pigeons settling on the bear's bread, buzzards tearing the meat the flies have clouded. Vulture, when you come for the white rat that the fox has left, take off the red helmet of your head, the black wings that have shadowed me, and step to me as man. The wild brother, at whose feet the white wolves fawned, to whose hand of power the great lioness stalks, purring. You know what I was. You see what I am.
Change me. Change me.
Next up is Nick Wells.
Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice.
Trevor Stout is next.
The End of Science Fiction by Liesl Mueller. This is not fantasy. This is our life. We are the characters who invaded the moon, who cannot stop their computers. We are the gods who can unmake the world in 7 days. Both hands are stopped at noon. We are beginning to live forever in lightweight aluminum bodies with numbers stamped on our backs. We dial our words like music. We hear each other through water. The genre is dead. Invent something new. Invent a man and a woman naked in a garden. Invent a child that will save the world. A man who carries his father out of a burning city. Invent a spool of thread that leads a hero to safety. Invent an island on which he abandons the woman who saved his life with no loss of sleep over his betrayal. Invent us as we were before our bodies glittered and we stopped bleeding. Invent a man. Invent a shepherd who kills a giant. A girl who grows into a tree. A woman who refuses to turn her back on the past and is changed to salt. A boy who steals his brother's birthright and becomes the head of a nation. Invent real tears, hard love, slow-spoken, ancient words, difficult as a child's first steps across a room.
I'd like to welcome up Gina Sesko.
Nude Descending a Staircase by X. J. Kennedy. Toe after toe, a snowing flesh, a gold of lemon root and rind. She sifts in sunlight down the stairs with nothing on, nor on her mind. We spy beneath the banister a constant thresh of thigh on thigh. Her lips imprint the swinging air that parts to let her parts go by. One woman waterfall. She wears her slow descent like a long cape and, pausing on the final stair, collects her motions into shape.
Rian Kearney is up next.
A Poison Tree by William Blake. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears. And I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning, glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree.
Hamid Kadiani will be next.
A Noiseless Patient Spider by Walt Whitman. A noiseless, patient spider. I marked where on a little promontory it stood, isolated. Marked how to explore the vacant, vast surrounding. It launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, oh my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling, catch somewhere, oh my soul.
We'll now have a 10-minute break before the next round. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Poetry Out Loud Central Illinois Regional Contest. We're going to go ahead and start round 2. Just a reminder to make sure any electronic devices are off. Everyone's been doing an awesome job, so I'm sure they will continue to do so. First up will be Catherine Ann Beeler.
Cartoon Physics, Part 1, by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum, galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing. All of it acted out in silence. At 10,
we are still learning the rules of cartoon animation. That if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake.
Piper Garman is next.
I am offering this poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca. I am offering this poem to you, since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through. I love you. I have nothing else to give you, so it is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly in winter. It is a scarf for your head to wear over your hair, to tie up around your face. I love you. Keep it. Treasure this as you would if you were lost, needing direction in the wilderness life becomes when mature. And in the corner of your drawer, tucked away like a cabin or hogan in dense trees, come knocking and I will answer. Give you directions and let you warm yourself by this fire, rest by this fire, and make you feel safe. I love you. It's all I have to give, and all anyone needs to live and to go on living inside. When the world outside no longer cares if you live or die, remember, I love you.
Please welcome Emma Reedy.
Kindness by Yusef Komonyaka for Carol Rigolet. When deeds lay before us, precious as gold in unused chances stripped from the winebone, we know the moment kind-heartedness walks in. Each praise be echoes us back as the years uncount themselves, eating salt. Though blood first shaped us on the climbing wheel, the human mind lit by the savannah's ice star and thistle rose. Your knowing gaze enters a room and opens the day, saying we were made for fun. Even the bedazzled brute knows when sunlight falls through leaves across honed knives on the table. If we can see it push shadows aside, growing closer, are we less broken? A barometer, temperature gauge, a ruler in minus fractions and pedigrees, a thingamajig, a probe with an all-seeing eye. What do we need to measure kindness, every unheld breath, every unkind leap year? Sometimes a sober voice is enough to calm the waters and drive away the false witnesses, saying, "Look, here are the broken treaties beauty brought to us, earth-bound sentinels."
Tori Londrigan is next.
Conversation by I. We smile at each other, and I lean back against the wicker couch. How does it feel to be dead? I say. You touch my knees with your blue fingers, and when you open your mouth, a ball of yellow light falls to the floor and burns a hole through it. Don't tell me, I say. I don't want to hear. Did you ever, you start, wear a certain kind of silk dress, and just by accident, so inconsequential you barely notice it, your fingers graze that dress, and you hear the sound of a knife cutting paper. You see it too. And you realize how that image is simply the extension of another image. That your own life is a chain of words that one day will snap. Words, you say, young girls in a circle holding hands and beginning to rise heavenward in their confirmation dresses like white helium balloons. The wreaths of flowers on their head spinning. And above all that, that's where I'm floating. And that's what it's like. Only 10 times clearer, 10 times more horrible. Could anyone alive survive it?
Mackenzie White is next.
Ars Poetica by Archibald MacLeish. A poem should be palpable and mute as a globed fruit, dumb as old medallions to the thumb, silent as a sleeve-worn stone of casement ledges where the moss is grown. A poem should be wordless as the flight of birds. A poem should be motionless in time as the moon climbs, leaving as the moon releases, twig by twig the night entangled trees, leaving behind the moon the winter leaves, memory by memory the mind. A poem should be motionless in time as the moon climbs. A poem should be equal to, not true, for all the history of grief, an empty doorway and a maple leaf, for love, the leaning grasses, and two lights above the sea. A poem should not mean, but be.
Maria Brower is up next.
To the Virgins to Make Much of Time by Robert Herrick. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a-flying, and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. The glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he's a-getting, the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he's to setting. That age is best which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer, but being spent, the worse and worse times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, and while ye may, go marry. For having lost but once your prime, you may forever tarry.
Megan Waller is up next.
Why? Because the Dazzling Sun by Emily Bronte. Why? Because the dazzling sun restored my earth to joy, have you departed, everyone, and left a desert sky. All through the night, your glorious eyes were gazing down in mine, and with a full heart's thankful sighs, I blessed that watch divine. I was at peace and drank your beams as they were life to me, and reveled in my changeful dreams like petrel on the sea. Thought followed thought, star followed star through boundless regions on, while one sweet influence, near and far, thrilled through and proved us one. Why did the morning rise to break so great, so pure a spell, and scorch with fire the tranquil cheek where your cool radiance fell? Blood red he rose, an arrow straight, his fierce beam struck my brow. The soul of nature sprang elate, but mine sank sad and low. My lids closed down, yet through their veil I saw him blazing still, and bathe in gold the misty dale, and flash upon the hill. I turned me to the pillow then, to call back night, and see your worlds of solemn light again throb with my heart and me. It would not do. The pillow glowed, and glowed both roof and floor, and birds sang loudly in the wood, and fresh wind shook the door. The curtains waved, the wakened flies were murmuring round my room, imprisoned there till I should rise, and give them leave to roam. Oh, stars and dreams and gentle night, oh, night and stars return, and hide me from this hostile light that does not warm, but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his blinding rain and only wake with you.
William Acton will be next.
Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. You will not see me stopping here to watch its woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bell a shake that asks if there is some mistake. The only other sound the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Colin Bale is up next.
Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Kooser. He was a big man, says the size of his shoes. on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of the bed in an upstairs room. And a good, God-fearing man, says the Bible with the broken back on the floor below the window. But not a man for farming, say the fields, cluttered with boulders and the leaky barn. A woman lived with him, says the bedroom walls papered with lilacs, and the kitchen shelves covered with oilcloth. And they had a child, says the sandbox made from a tractor tire. Money was scarce, say the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes sealed in the cellar hole. And the winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house in the weed-choked yard. Stones in the fields, say he was not a farmer. The still sealed jars in the cellar, say she left in a nervous haste. And the child, its toys were strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a dog in overalls. Something went wrong, they say.
Please welcome up Sona Fokum.
Testimonial, Rita Dove. Back when the earth was new and heaven just a whisper. Back when the names of things hadn't had time to sit. Back when the smallest breezes melted summer into autumn. When all the poplars quivered sweetly in rank and file. The world called, and I answered. Each glance ignited to a gaze. I caught my breath and called that life. Spoon by spoonfuls of lemon sorbet. I was pirouette and flourish. I was filigree and flame. How could I count my blessings if I didn't know their name? Back when everything was still to come, luck leaked out everywhere. I gave my promise to the world, and the world followed me here.
Annabelle Amuse is next.
The Blackstone Rangers by Gwendolyn Brooks. 1. As seen by disciplines. There they are, 30 at the corner. Black, raw, ready. Sores in the city that do not want to heal. 2. The leaders. Jeff, Jean, Geronimo, and Bop. They cancel, cure, and curry. Hardly the dupes of the downtown thing, the cold bonbon, the rhinestone thing, and hardly in a hurry. Hardly Belafonte, King, Black Jesus, Stokely, Malcolm X, or rap. Bungled trophies. Their country is a nation on no map. Jeff, Jean, Geronimo, and Bop in the passionate noon. In bewitching night are the detailed men, the copious men. They curry, cure, they cancel, canceled images whose concerts are not divine. Vivacious, the different tins are intense last entries, pagan argument, translations of the night. The Blackstone bitter bureaus, bureaucracy is footloose. Edit, fuse unfashionable damnations and dissent, an exalting monstrous hand on monstrous hand. Construct, strangely, a monstrous pearl or grace. 3. Gang girls, a rangerette. Gang girls are sweet exotics. Mary Ann uses the nutrients of her Orient, but sometimes sighs for cities of blue and jewel beyond her ranger rim of Cottage Grove. Bowery boys, disciples, Whitbirds will dissolve no margins, stop no savory sanctities. Mary is a rose in a whiskey glass. Mary's February's shudder and are gone. April's fret frankly, lilac hurries on. Summer is a hard, irregular ridge. October looks away, and that's the year. Save for her bugle love. Save for the bleat of not obese devotion. Save for somebody terribly dying under the philanthropy of robins. Save for her ranger bringing an amount of rainbow in a string-drawn bag. Where did you get the diamond? Do not ask, but swallow straight the spirals of his flask and assist him at your zipper. Pet his lips and help him clutch you. Love's another departure. Will there be any arrivals? Confirmations? Will there be gleaning? Mary, the shake dancer's child from the rooming flat pants, carefully peers at her laboring lover. Mary Ann, settle for sandwiches, settle for stocking caps, for sudden blood, aborted carnival, the props and niceties of non-loneliness, the rhymes of leaning.
Madeline Fry is up next.
Fairy tale logic, A.E. Stallings. Fairy tales are full of impossible tasks. Gather the chin hairs of a man-eating goat, cross a sulfuric lake in a leaky boat, select a prince from a row of identical masks, tiptoe up to a dragon where it basks and snatch its bone, count dust specks, mote by mote, or learn a phone directory by rote. Always it's impossible what someone asks. You have to fight magic with magic. You have to believe that you have something impossible up your sleeve. The language of snakes, perhaps. An invisible cloak. An army of ants at your beck, or a lethal joke. The will to do whatever must be done. Marry a monster. Hand over your firstborn son.
Please welcome up Mia Burwitz.
England in 1819, Percy Shelley. An old, mad, blind, despised, and dying king. Princes, the dregs of their dull race who flow through public scorn, mud from muddy spring. Rulers who neither see nor feel nor know, but leech-like to their fainting country cling, till they drop, blind in blood, without a blow. A people starved and stabbed in the untilled field, an army whom liberticide and prey makes as a two-edged sword to all who wields, golden and sanguine laws which tempt and slay, a religion Christless, godless, a book sealed, the Senate's time's worst statute unrepealed, our graves in which a glorious phantom may burst to illumine our tempestuous day.
Trevor Stout is up next.
A Farmer Remembers Lincoln by Whitter Benner. Lincoln? Well, I was in the old 2nd Maine, the 1st Regiment in Washington from the Pine Tree State. Of course, I didn't get the butt of the clip. We was there for Garden, Washington. We was all green. I ain't never been to the theater in my life. I didn't know how to behave. I ain't never been since. I can see plain as my hat the box where he sat in when he was shot. I can tell you, sir, there was a panic. When we found our president was in the shape he was in, never saw a soldier in the world but what liked him. Yes, sir. His looks was kind of hard to forget. He was a spare man, an old farmer. Everything was all right, you know, but he wasn't a smooth-appearing man at all. Not in no ways. Thin-faced, long-necked, and a swelling, kind of thick lip, like. And he was a jolly old fellow, always cheerful. He wasn't so high, but the boys could talk to him their own ways. While I was serving at the hospital, he'd come in and say, "You look nice in here." Praise us up, you know. And he'd bend over and talk to the boys. And he talked so good to them. So close. That's why I call him a farmer. I don't mean that everything about him wasn't all right, you understand? It's just, well, I was a farmer. And he was my neighbor. Anybody's neighbor. I guess even you young folks would have liked him.
Alexina Relat is up next.
Song of the Shattering Vessels by Peter Cole. Either the world is coming together, or else the world is falling apart. Here, now, along these letters against the walls of every heart. Today, tomorrow, within its weather, the end or beginnings about to start. The world impossibly coming together, or very possibly falling apart. Now the lovers' mouths are open. Maybe the miracle's about to start. The world within us coming together, because all around us it's falling apart. Even as they speak, he wonders. Even as the fear departs, is this the world coming together? Can they keep it from falling apart? The image, gradually, is growing sharper. Now the sound is like a dart. It seemed their world was coming together, but in fact, it was falling apart. That's the nightmare. That's the terror. That's the Isaac of this art, which sees that the world might come together, if only we're willing to take it apart. The dream, the lure, is the prayer's answer, which can't be plotted on any chart. As we know, the world that's coming together without our knowing is falling apart.
Robert Malkmacki is up next.
Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the deserts. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Hamid Kadiani is up next.
Ah, why? Because the dazzling sun by Emily Bronte. Ah, why? Because the dazzling sun restored my earth to joy. Have you departed, every one, and left a desert sky? All through the night, your glorious eyes were gazing down in mine. And with a full heart's thankful sighs, I bless that watch divine. I was at peace and drank your beams as they were life to me, and reveled in my changeful dreams like petrel on the sea. Thought followed thought, star followed star through boundless regions on, while one sweet influence, near and far, thrilled through and proved us one. Why did the morning rise to break so great, so pure a spell, and scorch with fire the tranquil cheek where your cool radiance fell? Blood red he rose and arrow straight, his fierce beam struck my brow. The soul of nature sprang elate, but mine sank sad and low. My lids closed down, yet through their veil I saw him blazing still, and bathe in gold the misty dale, and flash upon the hill. I turned me to the pillow then, to call back night and see your worlds of solemn light again throb with my heart and me. It would not do, the pillow glowed, and glowed both roof and floor, and birds sang loudly in the wood, and fresh winds shook the door. The curtains waved, the wakened flies were murmuring round my room, imprisoned there till I should rise and give them leave to roam. O stars and dreams and gentle night, O night and stars return, and hide me from the hostile light that does not warm but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his blinding rain, and only wake with you.
Dakota Clevenger is up next.
A Black Man Talks of Reaping by Arna Bontemps. I have sown beside all waters in my day. I planted deep within my heart the fear that wind or fowl would take the grain away. I planted safe against the stark, lean year. I scattered seed enough to plant the land in rows from Canada to Mexico. But for my reaping, only what the hand can hold at once is all that I can show. Yet what I sowed and what the orchard yields, my brother's sons are gathering stock and root. Small wonder then my children glean in fields they have not sown and feed on bitter fruit.
I'd like to welcome up Nick Wells.
Eagle Palm by Joy Harjo. To pray, you open up your whole self. To sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments, steadily growing, and in languages that aren't always sound but other circles of motion. Like eagle, that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky and wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion. Like eagle rounding out the morning inside us, we pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty.
Kendra Kolb is up next.
Self-Portrait by Chase Twitchell. I know I promised to stop talking about her, but I was talking to myself. The truth is, she's a child who stopped growing, so I've always allowed her to tag along. And when she brings her melancholy close to me, I comfort her. Naturally, you're curious. You want to know how she became a gnarled branch veiled in diminutive blooms. But I have told you all I know. I was sure she had secrets, but she had no secrets. I had to tell her mine.
Victoria Morford is next.
The Paradox by Paul Laurence Dunbar. I am the mother of sorrows. I am the ender of grief. I am the bud and the blossom. I am the late falling leaf. I am thy priest and thy poet. I am thy serf and thy king. I cure the tears of the heartsick. When I come near, they shall sing. White are my hands as the snowdrop. Swart are my fingers as clay. Dark is my frown as the midnight. Fair is my brow as the day. Battle and war are my minions, doing my will as divine. I am the calmer of passions. Peace is a nursling of mine. Speak to me gently or curse me. Seek me or fly from my sight. I am thy fool in the morning. Thou art my slave in the night. Down to the grave will I take thee, out from the noise of the strife. Then shalt thou see me and know me. Death, then no longer, but life. Then shalt thou sing at my coming. Kiss me with passionate breath. Clasp me and smile to have thought me aught save the foeman of death. Come to me, brother, when weary. Come when thy lonely heart swells. I'll guide thy footsteps and lead thee down where the dream woman dwells.
Mariah Brooks is up next.
I'm a Fool to Love You by Cornelius Eady. Some folks will tell you the blues is a woman, some type of supernatural creature. My mother would tell you, if she could, about her life with my father, a strange and sometimes cruel gentleman. She would tell you about the choices a young black woman faces. Is falling in love with some man a deal with the devil in blue terms? The tongue we use when we don't want nuance to get in the way, when we need to talk straight. My mother chooses my father after choosing a man who was, as we sing it, of no account. This man made my father look good. That's how bad it was. He made my father seem like an island in the middle of a stormy sea. He made my father look like a rock. And is the blues the moment you realize you exist in a stacked deck? You look in the mirror at your young face, the face my sister carries, and you know it's the only leverage you've got. Does this create a hurt that whispers, how you going to do? And is the blues the moment you shrug your shoulders and agree a girl without money is nothing, dust to be pushed away by any old breeze? Compared to this, my father seems, briefly, to be a fire escape. This is the way the blues works its sorry wonders. Makes trouble look like a featherbed. Makes the wrong man's kisses a healing.
Ryan Kearney is up next.
The Albatross by Kate Bass. When I know you are coming home, I put on this necklace. Glass beads on a silken thread, a blue that used to match my eyes. I like to think I am remembering you. I like to think you don't forget. The necklace lies heavy on my skin. It clatters when I reach down to lift my screaming child. I swing her, roll her in my arms until she forgets. The beads glitter in the flicker of a TV set as I sit her on my lap and wish away the afternoon. I wait until I hear a gate latch lift, the turn of key and lock. I sit amongst toys and unwashed clothes. I sit and she fingers the beads until you speak, in a voice that no longer seems familiar, only strange. I turn as our child tugs at the string. I hear a snap and a sound like falling rain.
Please welcome Brooke Dunn.
One art, Elizabeth Bishop. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day, accept the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster, places and names and where it was you meant to travel. None of these will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch. And look, my last or next to last of 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster, some realms I owned, 2 rivers, a continent. I missed them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the choking voice, a gesture I love. I shan't have lied. It's evident the art of losing's not too hard to master, though it may look like like disaster.
Gina Susko is up next.
The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade! Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode, and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from saber stroke, shattered and sundered. And then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made! All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600.
For our final participant, we have Kelly Keel.
Ah, why, because the dazzling sun, by Emily Bronte. Ah, why, because the dazzling sun restored my earth to joy. Have you departed, every one, and left a desert sky? All through the night your glorious eyes were gazing down in mine, and with a full heart's thankful sighs, I blessed that watch divine. I was at peace, and drank your beams, as they were life to me, and reveled in my changeful dreams, like petrel on the sea. Thought followed thought, star followed star, through boundless regions on, while one sweet influence, near and far, thrilled through and proved us one. Why did the morning rise to break, so great, so pure a spell, and scorch with fire the tranquil cheek where your cool radiance fell? Blood red he rose, an arrow straight, his fierce beams struck my brow. The soul of nature sprang elate, but mine sank sad and low. My lids closed down, yet through their veil I saw him blazing still, and bathe in gold the misty dale, and flash upon the hill. I turned me to the pillow then, to call back night, and see your worlds of solemn light again throb with my heart and me. It would not do. The pillow glowed and glowed both roof and floor, and birds sang loudly in the wood, and fresh winds shook the door. The curtains waved, the wakened flies were murmuring round my room, imprisoned there till I should rise and give them leave to roam. O stars and dreams and gentle night, O night and stars, return and hide me from the hostile light that does not warm, but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his blinding rain and only wake with you.
So we're going to have Thank you. you. So we're going to go ahead and have you all stay put and just plug right along here. Wanted to mention, just in case you were wondering, the set that you see on the stage is for the Hoagland Center for the Arts production of the Dixie Swim Club, directed by Susan Jeffers. The set was designed by Don Russell and built by Daniel Pittman. You can see that performance here this weekend, and you can get tickets downstairs at the box office. So, before naming the first and second place winners, I'd like to tell you about our judging staff. Galen Broadus is a former English instructor and a Poetry Out Loud lead teacher. He was involved with competitions in Central Illinois for 5 years and continues to support the program and its goals. He currently works as a web developer for a marketing firm in Decatur and plays and writes music. Taya Chesley holds... Sorry. Taya Chelsea holds a Master of Science degree from the Graduate School of Library and Information Services at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. She was the librarian for the Illinois Department of Public Health from 2000 to 2008, and from 1986 to 2000 was the coordinator of library services for the Illinois Department of Corrections. Ms. Chelsea also holds a Master of Arts from the Program for Writers at the University of Illinois at Chicago. She has self-published 3 chapbooks and was awarded the Gwendolyn Brooks Poetry Award in the 2008 Illinois Emerging Writers Competition. Bob Jessup has worked with Poetry Out Loud at both the regional and state levels for several years. He is a lifelong Springfielder and a graduate of Sangamon State University. Mr. Jessup is retired from a career as a mainframe programmer and system administrator with the state of Illinois. Thank you. Mark McKnight is a professional percussionist hailing from Jacksonville, Florida. He's performed with gospel artists Vanessa Bell Armstrong, Shirley Caesar, and Marvin Sapp, as well as jazz artists Deborah Brown, Benny Golson, and Ellis and Wynton Marcellus. Mr. McKnight's experience with poetry began with his study of classic poems in high school and continued through his participation in poetry slams and his serving as a judge for the African Cultural Olympics in Florida and Illinois. Currently, Mr. McKnight is a doctoral student at the University of Illinois and a teacher at Illinois College. Thank you. Osni Vigasa received her Master of Fine Arts in Acting from Northern Illinois University. For the past 15 years, she has worked for Brilliance Audio, abridging both fiction and nonfiction manuscripts for recording as audiobooks, as well as occasionally working as a narrator for the recordings. As a performer of poetry, Osni has co-starred with Kevin Purcell in Prairie Voices, which features the work of prairie poets Edgar Lee Masters, Carl Sandburg, and Springfield's very own Vachel Lindsay. She is co-owner of Ah Yoga in Springfield. Thank you. Jim Warner is the managing editor of Quiddity International Journal and Public Radio Program at Benedictine University. He is the author of 2 poetry collections called Too Bad It's Poetry and Social Studies. His poetry has appeared in various journals, including the North American Review and Midwestern Gothic. Thank you, Jim. So congratulations and thank you to all of you who read poetry today. You did amazing jobs. You all deserve to be very proud. I get nervous having to read things on air, but I have a script in front of me. So the fact that you held it all together, major props. Now I call to the stage John Austin, Executive Director of the Springfield Area Arts Council. Give it up for John. All right, so are we ready to announce winners? 1 second. So, John,
Well, Rachel,
here come my interview skills.
exactly. This is kind of like being on WUIS.
Yeah, so I hear you're new around here.
I am new around here, back in Springfield after about 4 years.
Yes, and what's your connection with this event? Is this your first time?
This is my first Poetry Out Loud, and students, teachers, parents, you should be extremely proud, as Rachel said. Extremely impressive. And I think one thing that we should do, and she's probably going to hate me for this, but I'm her boss, so I have a little authority to be able to do this. I think we need to give a round of applause to my assistant, Sheila Walk. It is Sheila who has put this entire program together and has put it together for a number of years. So, Sheila is far too modest to appear, but again, Sheila, thank you very much on behalf of the Arts Council and on behalf of the audience as well. So,
All right, yes, drum roll, please. Oh, you gotta get the plaques.
we have plaques.
Yes.
So tell me what order we're going in.
All right, first we will announce the alternate, which there's not a plaque here for that.
But I understand there will be a certificate to recognize that student's achievement.
Wonderful. So, the alternate winner is Alexania Relat, and I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. You can come on up.
So we're doing photos at some...
Yeah.
We're doing photos.
Yep, if you just want to come stand up on stage, that'd be great. And how do you say your name? Alexina. Okay, Alexina is from Lanphier High School. Awesome job. Great. All right.
Can you stand over here? That's probably best.
Our runner-up is Mariah Brooks from Southeast High School in Springfield.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And let's turn to the photographer.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Congratulations.
Awesome job. And our champion today is Annabelle Amuse from Southeast High School.
Congratulations. Your plug. Work. One more, please. Thank you. Congratulations.
Awesome job, you guys. All right, so that's a wrap. Please join the students at a reception in the lobby, which is just outside the door, and the Prairie Art Alliance Gallery on the main floor is open if you want to swing by. Thank you so much for participating, everyone.
And our state fund.